Well, if you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, your season kind of starts and ends on the offensive line. Just has to be better than it was last year when Geno Smith has a clean pocket. He's a really good quarterback. And so offensive line is interesting. So they signed a beast of an offensive lineman that I don't know if anybody really noticed or really paid too much attention to. We're going to break him down. If you're new to the channel, we're Detroit Lions fans, but we have this channel, Sports Talk Extra, talking about teams that we like talking about and just stories really that we like talking about that really matter that like the national media is never going to talk about. So here is what ESPN had to write about really what the Seattle Seahawks need is an improved offensive line, because your coach is a guy that actually we know well because he coached at Michigan, then he went back to the Ravens, kind of a defensive guy. Your defense is going to be there. It just is. It's going to keep you in games. You got enough good players on defense to keep you there, but Geno Smith needs an offensive line. He's kind of like Jared Goff in Detroit. Goff has protection, man. He's good, but when he doesn't, it's tough. And so here's what the quarterback himself said earlier this week about the prospects for the young, retooled offensive line that he'll be playing behind in 2024. I think they're going to be the best in the world. It's like, okay. That's interesting. But here's why this kind of makes sense, or why you can say this. So there's a guy that you sign that I think is really interesting. His name is Tremaine Akram, and he comes from the Rams. He was 4 seasons there, and then you get him cheap, and he's a guard. And this just goes to play into the depth of the guard position and the interior offensive line, because this dude, he might not even make the team. And it's like, but this guy's incredible. He was at Clemson. He went like 26-1 as a 3-year starter at Clemson. And then he goes to the Rams and just battles injuries. And so he just hasn't been able to stay on the field after coming in as an elite offensive lineman. So if you look at it, he was a multi-year starter at Clemson. He starred as a tackle for multiple FBS championship squads before being selected by the Rams in the 7th round of 2020. So it's 2020, comes in, it's weird, it's COVID. 21, he didn't see much injury because season-ending injury. 22, same thing. Looking for a fresh start, he signs a 1-year free agency deal. And the thing I like about him, and let me pull this up here real quick, is he's 6'2", 314. He plays a physical brand of football where he has been the best in the run game, where he can shoot out of his stance and knock defenders off the ball. Not surprisingly, in limited chances to play, the majority of his run blocking snaps came on gap blocking concept. Position-wise, he's been seeing worked at left guard in OTAs. So you go to left guard here, and you can see that he's 3rd on the depth chart right now. But again, this is a guy that was an elite prospect that actually, I shouldn't say elite prospect, but a really good offensive lineman. Again, played at Clemson during their championship runs and when they were playing well, and he went 26-1, won a national title. Then he goes to the Rams and had 2 season-ending injuries combined with COVID. So he only played really 1 year. So you could have this depth piece down here, Lincoln Tomlinson. I can't believe he's still in the league, by the way. Seems like he's been in the league forever. Olu Oluwatimi, one of the best centers. You could have one of the best centers. You've got George Fant, Abraham Lucas, Charles Cross. There's players and there's depth on the offensive line. What happens in offensive line play is that you get a right guard that goes out, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but then, the center moves to right guard, and then you got to bring in a center, and now he's out of position, and now 2 guys are out of position. And so the offensive line needs depth and needs guys that can step in. And so if you're a Seahawks fan, pay attention closely as OTAs wrap up in a couple months now, where you can look and find, okay, who's going to be the guy? Who is going to be the guy to really step up, or guys for the offensive line? Because that's what you're really looking for in this offensive line. Because again, you go through it's like Kenneth Walker, check. Geno Smith with protection, check. Zach Charbonnet. So you got a kind of 2-headed monster at running back that can work for you. Tyler Lockett's still doing his thing. Metcalf, Jackson Smith-Njigba is really going to come on this year. Like you just kind of believe that, right? So you've got, okay, offensively set, defensively, we talked about it. You've got enough players combined with Reek Woolen, Witherspoon. I mean, can't imagine the stuff he's going to do this year. There's enough players defensively. Combine that with a really good defensive coordinator, defensive-minded team in general, play well together. You need offensive line help. Now, speaking of the offensive lineman, of the offense, Geno Smith said he's really impressed with Ryan Grubb. And here's what he had to say. He said, I'm very impressed. Obviously, from the stuff he's done in college, he has a great track record. And then just being a part of the system, being able to learn from him, the type of guy that he is, the type of man that he is, the type of coach, I think there's going to be great things coming for us. I feel like I'm a drop back passer, and I feel like this is a drop back offense. I couldn't agree more. Geno Smith, if he's running around, it's not good. At this bottom line, can he do those things? Can he do play action, rollouts? Absolutely. Can he do things off schedule? Yes. But that's not where it's at. It's drop back. It's find the open receiver, let it rip, move the chains. An offense that's going to spread the ball around, trust the quarterback to make the right decision, that's pre and post snaps. I feel like that's something I'm really good at. I like Geno Smith, and I think he can absolutely play. There's bridge quarterback talk. There's, is he the guy long term? In some ways, it doesn't matter. It always matters what your plan at quarterback is, but he showed, man, he's the guy. Then last year was a little slow down, weird, clunky season for the Seahawks. And now this is a bounce back team. It just feels that way. Like this is a team that you should be betting on. They're revamped in a lot of ways, but also same. So it'll be exciting to see what the Seahawks bring to the table this year. Being in the NFC West is interesting because it's deep, but they're part of the deepness, if that makes sense, right? So you're like, man, NFC West, Niners, Rams. It's like in the Seattle Seahawks, though. Like people are forgetting about them. They're sleeping on the Seahawks because of a down year, and a down year in which they were not that down and started off the season really well. And things got weird, and just there's so many frustrating moments where they couldn't finish because they couldn't keep Geno Smith protected consistently. And if they can do that, this team is going to surprise a lot of people. They play well against the Rams. They play well against the Niners. So I'm not worried about them at all. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. This channel, all about teams and stories that we kind of like talking about and that don't get the love nationally. So Seahawks, one of those teams. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see all of you on the next one.